Okay, let me pull up some crime stats here for you. Give me just a minute. So, and I'm sure this has already been mentioned before, but one thing that, we always like to mention before we give out any stats, that just for, everybody watching or participating to understand that, the stats do change. At some point in the investigation, they could change to, a different kind of crime altogether. Just there's a lot of variables to this kind of stuff. So certainly just, accept this information, understanding that these are not final numbers. So we do have it broken up into two different categories, one of them being violent crimes. The violent crimes, as I mentioned last time, include three different things, three different crimes. That's going to be your aggravated assaults and your forcible rapes and your robberies. Those are the three that we, provide the council the information on. So unfortunately, due to some illnesses and different things, I have some final numbers that compare last year's year-to-date numbers with this year's final numbers. So last year's year-to-date numbers for the aggravated assaults was 668, and this year we are at 581. So there's been a 13% decrease in that. In the forcible rapes last year in 2021, we had 47. Year-to-date for us now is 29. So again, we have a 38% drop in the forcible rapes. The robberies we had for 2021, 257, this year at 389. So there is a 51% increase, and overall for violent crimes, that would make it a 3% increase. But again, it's based on those three categories. So for property crimes, auto burglaries, it includes auto burglaries, auto thefts, burglaries, and shopliftings. For the auto burglaries, the year-to-date numbers for 2021 were at 1,029, and this year we're at 800. So we're down by 22%. Auto thefts have gone from 822 in 2021 to 992. So a 21% increase in that category. So year-to-date for burglaries in 2021 was 725. This year we're at 788. So a little bit of an increase there as well. And then shoplifting for 2021, we're at 1,274, and this year we are at 1,208. So a little bit of a drop, but overall the property crimes in general have gone down 5%.
Thank you, Commander. Yeah. I really want to compliment you on your presentation of this data. It's a new look, and I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Is this just the Northeast area?
So this is for this should be for the Northeast area.
Okay.
You see there's some other categories on there like foothills, but yeah, they've got it broken down between our areas and the others. But if I can say, we went to a retail meeting today with many of the business, either GMs or managers or owners from Uptown Mall. And everybody just across the city, us included as officers and as civilians, are just as frustrated as everybody else for some of these things. But, and our PRT Sergeant Symes is on here as well. Those guys are working tirelessly to address the problems where we have them. So, but you guys know this, and it's been said, it's hard for all, everybody that's requesting us to get to every one of those places. It's challenging. So.
Well, I don't want you to think that we're trying to beat up on you. Certainly I understand, and I think everybody in the council knows the stress that APD is under. Being understaffed certainly makes it difficult to respond to all calls within a reasonable amount of time. I personally want to thank you all for the job that you're doing, given the resources that you have. So.
And we appreciate that. I know, Mr. Taylor, you mentioned, sometimes I don't know what to do, and I do the same thing at night. I'm kind of scratching my head thinking of, okay, what can we do to make this better? But I think one thing that has always been consistent is the efforts by everybody, right? The police department, the community, to report these things. I can't tell you how much I rely on my neighbors to watch over my own house, at times that I'm not there. If something I see in their yard, I call them, hey, is this guy supposed to be here? So definitely this is going to be a joint effort. And that's the only way that we're going to make some movement on this, I think.
Well, hopefully that I hope the future holds more community-oriented policing activities, and people. I think people need to realize that there's two parts to that. There's the community and there's the police, and they have to work together. And the community can be in a lot of instances force multiplier. We can act as your eyes and ears, at least, to give you information and stuff like that. So I hope APD continues on utilizing community-oriented policing and expanding it.
Commander, I have a couple of questions or comments, and one would be, I know that there is state legislators are looking at changing the shoplifting laws, so that, as I understand it, I may have it wrong, instead of looking at each shoplifting event as a single incident, so where there's a cash limit of what makes it a felony, do a cumulative shoplifting so that people can have, if they steal $400 worth of stuff 3 times, it becomes a felony, whereas you did one each time, it would not be. That's my understanding. Have you heard about that? And B, would that be helpful?
So I've even seen that even currently, when we have some of those key players who are committing the majority of these crimes, they do have the ability with the district attorney's office, from my understanding, to compound those crimes based on the amount of incidents there are. We had, matter of fact, Sergeant Simons was part of this group that took down a repeat serial robber or shoplifter. And, we suspect that she's actually involved in over 200 of those crimes throughout the city. So my hope would be that this would be forwarded to a different agency that has the ability to compound those.
Okay. And I don't know whether you want to comment. I'd be interested in hearing any thoughts you had on the presentation we had earlier. You may want to decline, I don't know, but I would be interested in, if you were willing to give some thoughts about what you heard. I would like to hear them.
So, I welcome anybody willing to take a piece of this pie. And that's anybody. I mean, I don't think it's any, secret that we need the help. And quite frankly, if they have, different ways of handling, the call volume or curbing the crime, I have no issue with that. I know, people even around the law enforcement world, they took a deep sigh whenever state police came into Albuquerque to help with some things that were going on here. It's almost like people get territorial about, certain areas, and I don't have those issues. Ultimately, we don't have the manpower. We have the increased call volume. We have the increased population. We have crime just rising nationally. There's so many things kind of, hitting us from every angle that I wouldn't turn down the help. So I appreciate his company and companies like him willing to take on that burden.
Commander, do you know off the top of your head what a ballpark for staffing would be for sworn personnel right now?
I'm trying to remember what the number they gave was, but it's, and I don't know if maybe Sergeant Simons can remember, but it's somewhere around 850-ish is what I believe. And I think it's a little bit higher than that, but I believe it's in that 800 range.
Yeah, that's that kind of goes with along with what I've heard. And I just want to make a statement that when I started with the Albuquerque Police Department in 1984, they had 854 officers at that time, 1984. So that's how, if you look at what the population of Albuquerque in 1984 and you look at the population now, it's exploded.
Absolutely.
Especially when you consider that Albuquerque has a large, and I'm using this term transient in the purest sense, a transient population that moves in and out of Albuquerque to work, to go to school, to commit crimes, to get in automobile accidents, all of that. That's added into what would be called a service population that you have to serve. So things have just exploded, on the population side. And obviously APD hasn't, unfortunately, been able to keep pace with staffing levels. And that, I'm not placing the blame on APD for that. I think there are multiple factors in that, but we really need to get up to, at least 12 to 1,300 officers right now. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other comments for the commander before we turn it over to Sergeant Slimes?
Yes, we do have one more question from Victoria Sanchez. And she asks, does APD have to spend an inordinate amount of time policing homeless?
So, I mean, ultimately, there probably is some correlation between, the unhoused population. I don't want to just say, the unhoused population commits all the crimes. But I do believe there is probably a correlation with that, group of the unhoused and the crimes that they commit. So ultimately, we're spending time on people that are willing to do crimes or people that are committing those crimes, housed or unhoused population. But there probably is, like I said, that correlation between that group and maybe the amount of crimes that they, and not only the crimes, but the time that they take or the time that they require. People call on them often. So they say, they're bothering me at the gas station, or they're sleeping outside of my business, or they're defecating outside of my business, or they're sleeping in the park. So I think probably for that reason, there probably is an increased call volume. People are uncomfortable having those situations in their neighborhood. And quite frankly, those are a lot of the calls that we take. So, I mean, I guess I would say there's a lot of time spent in that area, but, it's based on a lot of not just crimes, but it's also quality of life issues.
Okay. Thank you, Commander. Thank you very much.